sometimes in this world, you got to look a take dead in the eyes and say, I think I got to reel you back in. So that's what I'm here to do today. We're going to reel some takes back in. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I avoided for a really, really long time making a video about the Atlanta Hawks, and a specific take that I had a couple months ago that since then, on every single video, somebody will be like, still waiting for that Hawks video, still waiting for that take to get fleshed out. For those of you who have not been around since the beginning and dawn of this channel, basically, I think I mentioned in passing that I thought Atlanta could get up to a 3 seed this year. I said, I'm looking at this Hawks team, and I don't think it's inconceivable to think that they go into the playoffs in a 3v6 matchup with home court advantage. Now, marijuana is a funny thing. Now, it is not that I do not believe what I said, because there are parts of it that I think are good points. The real issue was that I could never put together like 8 to 12 minutes of like, this all makes sense, and this is all a good point, and this is actually a good take. So I was just kind of like, let me sit on this one and see if I kind of like arrived at a conclusion before putting all of I just had like the edges of the puzzle, but I didn't do the middle. But there was something about it that I said that I did like, so let's talk about that. Really, all that came down to was I was thinking about, okay, the Milwaukees, the Bostons, the Phillies of the world, right? Throw Miami in there. One of them is going to underperform, right? That's just sort of the nature of the beast. Like, such is life in the NBA. You have this team who we thought was sort of in that, maybe first or second tier, and they just kind of, for whatever reason, through virtue of injury, or sometimes it just doesn't work, somebody's going to underperform, which means that somebody's got to rise to the top. So then it's a matter of like, okay, well, who in the Eastern Conference is in that tier, like that low second or high third tier of like, they could make some noise, but like probably not. Well, I think that would be Atlanta, and I think that the DeJounte Murray trade was a really good indicator of that. And as much as I would love to use that as a beautiful segue to just start talking about DeJounte Murray, we'll have to do that in a minute, because I do want to talk about Trae Young. Now, usually when we talk about sort of the good teams in the league, we avoid talking about their best players. In the Portland video, tried not to really talk about Dame as like a basketball player. If it's the Mavs, like I'm not going to talk about Luka, and it's always because what am I going to fucking say about these guys that like is going to change your mind about anything? Like, they're so polarizing and so good that every take that somebody could possibly have about them has already been said. So I kind of just like to focus on more of the role guys, but Trae Young, a guy who, and I mean this in the most respectful way, I think is the only player in the league who, if he's cooking my team, which Trae Young has done to Detroit multiple times, I don't find it fun. And I can't find the beauty in it. Like, if it's Steph cooking your team, then you're just like, yeah, like there's an art form to it, right? It's very poetic. You're just watching it, and it's like this. Oh, it's a different thing, right? It's the same if, like, I don't know, if LeBron does it, if Giannis does it, if Tatum does it. There's always a way to, like, the silver lining of like, man, at least I'm getting to watch this really great player just like get deep in their bag and like go for it. Like when Anthony Davis gave the Pistons 60, like low-key, that shit, it was fun, right? The reason for this, that I just don't have fun watching Trae Young, is because I think when like the James Hardens of the world and like the generation before Trae Young is officially out of the league, I think Trae is going to be like a relic of the past and like a remnant of an era of basketball that is no longer, because they'll have adjusted enough rules that the rip throughs and the flailing into somebody will hopefully, in 10 years more or less, just not really be a thing anymore. And we'll be able to look back on, this decade-long period where so many guys made so much money, not because they weren't talented and had to resort to doing something like that, but using the rules to their advantage. Like, that's why I never really get mad at guys like, I'm not like mad at Trae Young. I don't get mad at James Harden, because it's like they just know the rules and they're just playing the rules. And that in and of itself is really, really smart. But just because it's smart doesn't mean that it's fucking fun. And for me, it's not. So one of the other reasons that I don't get like, that I'm not like a full-blown Trae Young hater, I think is because at the end of the day, he wins games, right? Does he not? Like, and I also hate the way that we've quantified, like, whether or not that actually matters for a team, or because a team won 49 games and, didn't win a chip, now we have to invalidate it. Like, I don't know, not every team can win every single year. Only one team gets to do it. Only one team gets to be like, hey, man, like these 54 wins, now they actually matter. Boom, give us the stamp. Like, it's really not that uncommon in the NBA to have a guy who just plays, 10, 11, 12 really solid years of basketball, and that's it. And the furthest he ever goes is like the second round. Doesn't even make a conference finals. Doesn't even win a conference finals. Just goes to the second round. Like, sometimes that's just a guy. And sometimes he just plays on teams that are like pretty good. And that's it. I guess it's kind of like we spend so much time. It kind of is like the stars versus the role players argument, where I think it's more fun to stand the role players. And it's kind of like, well, people only like to talk about the championship teams because they won the ultimate thing. Like, the 2017-2018 Rockets might have been like one of the best teams ever. Period. Point blank, period. 2017-2018 Rockets were incredible. And they lost to Golden State. They lost. A team that ended up winning a championship. But, like, I don't know. I don't want a team like that to be forgotten just because they didn't win a ring. I digress. Anyways, one final thing to add. Trae Young not shooting the ball well, like, at all this year, but it's, like, not affecting his scoring because he's still getting to the line. Like, if he shoots 12 free throws, 8 of them were probably bullshit. Like, let's just be real. Now, it is, to be fair, he is also a smaller guy, right? So he does get banged around a lot, 100%. But, folks, this DeJounte Murray thing is working out beautifully. If not, like, literally exactly the way that I, and I'm sure that so many of you were hoping that it would. Just a defensive nightmare. And I, of course, mean that in the most endearing way possible. Leading the league in steals as of this recording? No, actually, it's probably OG Anunoby. I swear to God, man, that guy, I feel like we're going to get to the end of OG Anunoby's career. And you're going to be like, he played 17 years. He was top 10 in steals 13 of those years. He's just going to, like, be in the league forever and just always annoy me because he's just never going to play for my team. The DeJounte Murray thing is great for Atlanta, not just for the defensive aspect of this, but because you also have the Holiday brothers in the mix at guard now. So the pick and roll potential with this team, which is really their bread and butter. Like, yeah, I know that it is for, like, every NBA team and every college team and every high school team, every AAU team, every middle school team, I get it, but that's what this Hawks team does better than anybody because they have the ball handlers they do between Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, the Holiday brothers. You also have, for the bigs, you have Okongwu, insane energy guy, John Collins, a guy who I still don't understand if he wants to be there or not, like what ended up happening with that. So he was going to go to free agency and then just signed, he like re-upped and then whatever, I'm sure a Hawks fan will let me know. And then you also have Clint Capella. So if there's anything that this team is lacking in the shooting department early on in the season, they're making up for it by playing incredible basketball down low and around the rim and playing mistake-free basketball. Jalen Johnson has been fun, too, on the defensive end, just since we're talking about, defense with this Hawks team. Jalen Johnson's been fun. Kind of like a terrorizer around the rim a little bit. He's just he's just a long guy. The DeAndre Hunter thing has been fun too. He's been good. He's been getting kind of good at playmaking a little bit. Get a little bit more confident in his jumper. This is an ankle injury I think that he was dealing with. Doesn't really seem like that's, bothering him or even holding him back anymore. So that's been good to see. I remember in college when Virginia was playing Texas Tech in it was the Natty. It would have been the Natty because Texas Tech had just beaten Michigan State in the Final Four. And I hated Jarrett Culver. And then the Natty happened, and it was Jarrett Culver versus DeAndre Hunter. And I was just like, this is just a Spider-Man meme. These are literally just the same guy. And who would have been Jim Nantz on the broadcast probably for CBS. And he's talking the whole game. I mean, the whole crew is talking up DeAndre Hunter as this touted NBA prospect. And I'm looking at, 23 in red on the other side. That was what Jarrett Culver wore in college, I think, 23. And I'm like, that's the guy we're supposed to be talking about here. The quick step that he had, he kept doing this little, it was like a jab / spin. I don't know what we would call it. And it was great, right? So all pre-draft, I was a big Jarrett Culver guy. It turns out, this is a very long-winded way of just being like, DeAndre Hunter, wow, really nice NBA career. He's starting to carve out for himself. Jarrett Culver, I don't know. So do I want to officially go back on my word? Do I want to reel this one in all the way? Do I want to leave a little slack on the the Hawks 3 seed line. Do I want to let it, put a little bobber on it, let it sit out there for a while, see if it gets some traction? I don't know. We'll see. Hawks 3 seed. Book it.